The anti-white and radical socialist New York City mayoral candidate Zohran Mamdani was recently interrupted and heckled at an event he was hosting by a pro-Palestinian activist. This protester was furious at Zohran because he believes he isn't violent and radical enough. He was so mad, in fact, that he comes close to physically assaulting Zohran, and you can see all over Zohran's face how scared he is. Because to most normal people, Zohran Mamdani is the most radical, anti-American, anti-Western civilization, anti-capitalist person that we've ever seen run for elected office. But in this moment, Zohran realizes the risk and the danger of running a campaign that appeals to the deranged and radical left, because they are never satisfied. They always want more. Complete and total destruction is their goal. I mean, Zohran is openly racist against white people. He's a proud socialist who believes in seizing the means of production, redistribution of wealth, government-run grocery stores. He supports violent Islamic terrorism, and in this moment, even he realized that it's not enough. As always, like the video and subscribe to the channel. We are on the road to 300,000 subscribers. June was a crazy and busy month for me with the birth of my first child. I wasn't as active making videos as I usually am, but we are back in full swing now, so let's start July off with a banger. Make sure you smash the like button and make sure you turn on the notifications so you never miss a video. Now, before I show you guys the insane clip of Zohran almost peeing his pants from this heckler, let me show you his appearance on CNN, where he, a foreign national, anti-Western civilization socialist, tries to lecture us on what the American dream actually means.
So, for people who say that America was built on, and a lot of immigrants, and obviously you speak from an immigrant experience. I mean, you came as a young child, but you speak to a lot of people who came much more recently, that they come to America because they believe in capitalism. They believe that if they work hard and make a lot of money, that's part of the American dream. Do you think that's not part of the American dream?
I think the dream at its core is a dream for stability in one's life. And what you're saying, that you work hard enough and that you then reap the benefits, too many New Yorkers, and Americans for that matter, are working 8 hours and then still feeling like they haven't made enough money to keep living in the city they call home. And ultimately, what I'm focused on is making the city affordable for everyone, not to win an ideological argument, but to deliver on the mandate of this
Mayor
campaign.
Adams,
Now, I don't know about you, but I have such a problem with a foreign-born Islamic terrorist supporter from Uganda redefining what the American dream is to fit his Marxist worldview. Everything this man believes is completely antithetical to the American way of life. And instead of embracing American values, which make it the most attractive place on earth to do business, for people to move to have the opportunity to succeed and get ahead in life, he wants to replace it all with an ideology and a way of governance that is embraced by the poorest, most corrupt, and violent countries in the world. In American society, we don't look at rich people as the enemy. We look at rich people as an example of what we can be if we work hard and make good choices. Most Americans want to be rich. And when you combine that desire with an economic model that only allows you to become rich if you provide a massive amount of societal benefit, you get the most robust and prosperous country that has ever existed in human history. Capitalism rewards people for taking risk to provide value to their fellow man. And if you want to become richer, you have to expand your business, which means you have to hire more people. It's an economic model that leads to prosperity, that complements the human desire to succeed. And that model has led to miraculous innovations in technology, in medicine, in all aspects of life. The American model has increased human life expectancy, has substantially decreased global poverty, and New York City is symbolic of this entire philosophy. But listen to Zohran's response when the CNN host asks him if he likes capitalism.
So when people say democratic socialist, right? And I'm curious what you think this means. I mean, do you like capitalism?
No, I have many critiques of capitalism. And I think ultimately the definition for me of why I call myself a democratic socialist is the words of Dr. King decades ago. He said, call it democracy or call it democratic socialism, there must be a better distribution of wealth for all of God's children in this country. And that's what I'm focused on, is dignity and taking on income inequality. And for too long, politicians have pretended that we're spectators to that crisis of affordability. We're actually actors, and we have the choice to exacerbate it, like Mayor Adams has done, or to respond to it and resolve it like I'm planning to do.
See, this is the problem with revolutionaries like Zohran Mamdani, is they want to tear down something objectively good that works, and they never have a suitable replacement for it. They simply want to cause destruction for all, so bitter and jealous leftists can feel good that they stuck it to the rich guy. Capitalism is a system that rewards high achievers, and those high achievers pull all of society up with them. Think about 50 years ago. Computers were so big and bulky, they would take up stories of an entire building just to not even come close to the computing power that the modern smartphone has. It leads to innovation and advancement that benefits all members of society. He talks about reducing income inequality. Well, the places on Earth that have the least amount of income inequality are the poorest places. Income inequality will always exist. The point isn't to reduce income inequality. The point is the people at the bottom of the socioeconomic ladder are continuously doing better than they did a decade ago. The only way to achieve no income inequality is if everybody is equally as poor as the next person. And that's exactly what you see anytime communism or socialism is implemented. I mean, this man is a complete nut job, but here is the part that you all have been waiting for. A pro-Palestinian heckler almost beating up Zohran Mamdani because he wants him to be even more radical. Take a look.
What do you say? I have a question. What do you say about politicians that constantly reaffirm Israel's right to exist? Because people like me are constantly attacked by politicians for standing up for Palestine, and you are constantly defending the right for Israel to exist. My family is in Palestine right now, constantly under attack, and I'm hearing you say free Palestine, but also Israel has the right to exist. Don't be hypocritical. Don't be hypocritical and say free Palestine when you're also defending the right for Israel to exist. It does not have the right to exist. It does not have the right to exist. It's not your land to say it has the right to exist.
So even though Zohran is openly advocating for anti-white policies that punish people based on their skin color, even though he's trying to implement anti-Western policies that would facilitate the downfall of New York City, even though he refuses to condemn Globalize the Intifada, which is a chant used by Islamic terrorists, none of that is enough, because to this protester, he also needs to hold genocidal views that the Jewish race shouldn't exist. And that is the problem with a candidate like Zohran, is he's tapping into the left's insatiable desire to kill, to destroy, to oppress. He's giving a megaphone to people who will not be satisfied until the United States is turned into some Islamic Sharia law country where everything is owned and controlled by the government and our women get stoned for showing their hair. It's the same kind of radical progressivism you see from the left that forces them to refuse to accept that since 1965, black people have had civil rights and equal rights. To them, that doesn't matter. That's not far enough. They want more. They believe it goes further than a law. They believe every fiber of every detail of every aspect of our society was crafted during a time where black people didn't have rights. So therefore, every single institution, every aspect of everyday life needs to be torn down and replaced with something different. And Zohran is going to find out that the people who he's appealing to are not just wildly stupid, but they're also dangerous. And you can tell he knows that because he was shaking in his boots thinking that this guy was likely about to attack him. But it's funny that Zohran would be afraid of violence because just a few years back, when he was openly advocating for defunding the police, he makes the claim that violence is nothing more than a social construct. Watch.
Oftentimes, we've even found as legislators, when we go into these courts, the term violent crime is even used when people are stealing packages. Violent crime is even used when people are accused of burglary and there happens to be a housing unit in that same dwelling. So violence is an artificial construction. And we have to be very clear that what is happening here with these district attorneys, that is violence. That is violence of the highest degree.
Ah, yes, the irony of the left, where actual violence isn't really violence, that's just a social construct. But also, words are violence, and that's why you're not allowed to call a man pretending to be a woman a man, because if you choose to operate in reality, your words are essentially causing a trans person to kill themselves. And that's why the left thinks freedom of speech is bad and should be policed and censored. So this is the person that New York City is about to get. He wants to increase the tax rate on rich people. He wants to double the corporate tax rate on businesses. And on top of that, he wants to defund the police department, but will sit there and smile in your face and gaslight you into thinking that his policies are going to turn New York City into some paradise, some utopia. If he thinks rich people aren't going to leave because of a tax increase, well, I bet you they leave because of a tax increase combined with the city that becomes even more crime-ridden. And then once that happens, unemployment skyrockets, crime continues to skyrocket, his government-run grocery stores become overrun, bread lines start winding around New York City blocks, mass hunger ensues. Maybe then, Zohran might admit that his policies, which have been tried countless times and every time lead to the same outcome, aren't as wonderful as he thinks they are. The left always wants to preach to us about recognizing historical wrongs so we don't repeat them. They want to lecture us about how America is stolen land, about how slavery 200 years ago still contributes to black people not being able to get ahead today. But yet they refuse to look at any historical example of socialism crippling societies and leading to mass starvation, poverty, tyranny, and violence. The next video I'm going to show you is something that I saw a long time ago, but it's resurfacing on X due to the emergence of Zohran Mamdani's popularity. It's a man from communist Cuba breaking down in tears after his first time going to a Costco and seeing just how much meat is in the stores.
Cierra los ojos.
Yo me puedo llevar eso para la casa.
Nadie te va a preguntar de dónde lo conseguiste. Nadie va. Tú solo. Uno.
Con esto puedo hacer ejercicio. Mira la gente aquí como se va. Mira los boliches tan negros. Demasiado, mija, demasiado. Demasiado.
Manzana.
Qué rico ser. Qué rico ser. Que los papeles míos de la entrada aquí me decían que yo era un alienígena. Y yo ahora veo esto y yo digo, es que soy un alienígena.
What you just saw is the reaction of every single person who actually comes from a country in which communism is implemented. They hate communism. They love capitalism. They love America. They love American values. They love American opportunity. The only people who advocate for communist policies are silver spoon elitists like Zohran. Rich, well-off people who think that they'll hit their virtue signaling quota if they advocate for radically destructive policies in the name of supporting the working class man. Socialism and communism is no friend of the working man. Capitalism is a friend of the working man. The whole concept of the middle class didn't even exist until American capitalism made it exist. My fiance's family is Laotian. They immigrated here over 30 years ago. They are entrepreneurial. They are industrious. They love America. They go back and visit Laos because they have family there, but they absolutely hate the government. They hate how violent and oppressive communist regimes are. People from countries like that flee to America because it's the exact opposite. But people like Zohran don't understand that because to them, they can just sit on their high horse, yell slogans like billionaires shouldn't exist, and then get cheers and applause from their echo chamber of radical Marxist leftists. A whole bunch of well-off, college-educated white liberals who have adopted the white privilege worldview and think white people are the root of all evil, but also, ironically enough, think that because they're educated white liberals, they're the only ones who can solve the problem. The last thing I'm going to show you is Donald Trump commenting on Zohran and giving his opinion on how he feels about his home city potentially going communist.
I think he's terrible. He's a communist. The last thing we need is a communist. I said there will never be socialism in the United States. Now we have a communist. I think he's bad news, and I think I'm going to have a lot of fun with him, watching him, because he has to come right to this building to get his money. man. Don't worry, he's not going to run away with anything. I think he's frankly, I've heard he's a total nut job. I think the people of New York are crazy. If they go this route, I think they're crazy. We will have a communist for the first time, really, a pure, true communist. He wants to operate the grocery stores, the department stores. What about the people that are there? I think it's crazy.
Now, I certainly hope New York City does not elect this guy. New York City is the most iconic symbol of capitalism. Big, tall buildings, flashing lights, people on the street level, dreaming about living on the top floor. Big visions, aspirations, the dream of economic mobility right in front of your face. And it would be disastrous to the morale and the image of America if a communist takes over the capital center of the world. But the only silver lining is Donald Trump will absolutely make this man's life a nightmare. Zohran will fail so badly that he will be eaten alive by his wildly radical base. And at the end of the day, to the behest of all of us, they may even deport him back to Uganda. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Turn on the notification bells so you never miss a video. And I will see you guys in the next one.